All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. People are still coming in, and they probably will be for the next few minutes, but I think we have enough people we can go ahead and start. So as I mentioned, we just want to take an opportunity to get some people that are regulars in the community to get some face time in front of the rest of us. So I believe Tara is on the call. I reached out to her, I believe yesterday, the day before, and she agreed to do this. So Tara, if you are on, do you just want to turn your camera on, turn your microphone on, and basically give us who you are, where you work, how long you've been using Tableau, and maybe your favorite Tableau trick, if that's easy enough.
Yes, it totally is. And first, my name is actually pronounced Tara.
Tara.
There's no way to know that over, as we're meeting now, so no worries, but I just wanted to say that. My name is Tara Mysak. I work for the University of Arizona at the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and also with Cooperative Extension. And I work as a data analyst, mostly with institutional type data that is specific for our college and our mission as a land grant university. I was trying to think of how long I've been using Tableau, and I was like, oh my God, it's been forever. But really it isn't. It's only been 3 years. It just feels like forever right now. So it's been about 3-ish years, although in the past year or so, I've been using it a lot more. I actually had the opportunity to teach a data visualization class to MBA and health management students over the summer. And so suddenly I had to learn a whole lot more than I knew before. I was dabbling with some things and it was just like, oh, I have to actually know this to explain it.
Yeah. That's kind of the best way to learn, right? I mean, forcing yourself to teach somebody else, you kind of have to own it to be able to communicate it well.
Yes, that adage of those who can't do teach, totally not true. Totally not true. My favorite trick, I think, really are parameters, because it's something that took me a long time to wrap my head around. I kept getting confused with, well, what is a parameter? And it finally hit me that it's really just a fancy filter. And then it was like, oh, okay, I can do this now. And now I really love parameters. I like the way that they bring your dashboards just a little bit more. That extra bit of interactivity is a lot of fun for me. And I think it's a lot of fun when people first look at a dashboard and you're like, oh, then you can click this and it will switch over to this other thing. And they'll be like, oh, that's really cool.
Cool. Yeah. So many use cases, so much flexibility. Good choice. Parameters. Thumbs up. Thank you, Tara.
My pleasure.
Okay, so I got one name wrong. I'm probably going to get a second name wrong. Apri, did I pronounce that right? Are you on the call, Apri?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Hopefully. There we go. Working now.
Cool. So your name, where you work, how long you've been using Tableau, favorite Tableau trick or feature?
My name is Apri. I work at JLL. I've been using Tableau for about 1.5 years. And I don't know, set actions maybe? It's hard. There's still so much that I'm figuring out. I just started diving into table calculations, so that's been really cool. But
yeah, and I feel like they don't get used nearly as much anymore with the LOD possibilities that you can use. But table calculations, when necessary, can certainly add a lot of functionality and cool things that you can do. Cool. Well, thank you. Let's see who else. Manoj, are you on the call? Hopefully I got your name right. I think you are. I think I saw you.
Yes, Christian, I'm on the call.
Cool. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Manoj. I work for a company called Hexagon as a business analytics analyst. I've been using Tableau since like 3+ years, and I was introduced to Tableau user group about like a year ago or more than a year. I don't remember, but it has been good. Like I've been more engaged with more data people than before after joining Tableau user group, because there are a lot of conversation that keeps happening. And I'm certified now in Tableau after like 6 months of starting working with Tableau. So, and my favorite trick, I think, apart from set and parameter actions, would be like a lot of analytics that we can do with the scatter plots is one thing that I
Yes.
love. Yeah, so it's like there are a lot of things, cool things that you can do, but just to contain yourself so that the audience can understand and keep it simple. So that is one of my favorite stuff to do using scatter plots.
Very cool. I too love scatter plots. Yeah, and appreciate your involvement in the user group community, Manoj. I think you were one of the very first regulars. You certainly helped us get on premises at Hexagon for some awesome meetings we had. So appreciate you being around and sticking through the whole virtual pandemic thing with us and continuing to come to these meetings and make the community what it is. So I'll just, so those are the three I had planned. If there's anybody else that's attending that wants to turn their camera on and sort of do an introduction, I'll open it up for one more person. Any takers on that?
Hello. Hi. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Ninad. Hey, how are
Yes.
you?
I'm good. Hi, Christian. Hi, everyone. My name is Ninad. And firstly, congrats, Christian, for winning the IronViz. It was amazing seeing you on the stage. And so my name is Ninad. I work with Charles Schwab as data scientist. I'm based in Phoenix. And since the TUG meetings for Tucson have been virtual, I am fortunate to be able to join. And I've been using Tableau for over 3 years now. And my two favorite things in Tableau, the first one is like being able to hide and show different visuals by click of the buttons. So that has enabled me like providing the users with drill down options. So when they want to see a holistic view, it's a simple view. And when they want to drill down, they'll just click on an object and a new visual will show up on the right. And the second favorite thing for me is like getting lines that connect different visuals, similar to the Viz that you built. So the one I'm building right now for my Tableau Public is on California fires, where the lines will take the users from the map to a bar chart on the right.
Oh, that's so cool. And what an important topic to visualize. I've been thinking about that myself, considering all of the fires going on the West Coast. How data visualization could really raise awareness, amplify that, and bring it to life. I'm excited to see what you come up with. I think that'll be really cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I also believe we owe you some swag, right? Ninad, from
I guess, yeah, a long time ago.
We don't guarantee prompt delivery, but we do guarantee eventual delivery. So I have your address. I have not forgotten, but yeah, thanks for bearing with. Things have been pretty busy, but we'll get that to you definitely. And I appreciate you continuing to chime in here. Okay, so Tucson, meet yourself. That has been done. I think that was good. Good to get some FaceTime with the group. Let me go ahead and start this and we will get going. Okay, so we got a new logo. This is, again, a community effort. There was a user group leader out of Charlotte that I met on the Slack channel for Tableau, and he's a bit of a designer, and he mocked this logo up for us in about half a day. And I think it looks cool. Would love to hear any thoughts on this, but it's definitely very Tucson. It has the saguaro in the background there and has the Tableau icons. I think it's a good fit. I'd love to get some shirts at some point for the community, hopefully by the end of the year. So we'll see if we can make that happen and get those shirts out to the regular attenders of the community. Secondly, data 20 content. Oh yeah, I got some love it. It's awesome, looks great. Thank you, I like it too. Data 20 content still available. I've done some on-demand viewing myself, so you can go to the conference link that you went to view it live a couple weeks ago. And I think all of the episodes are still available through, I don't remember the date. I'm sure somebody can put it in the chat though, just so we have it. But also, in addition to the episodes, the the Tableau Public Viz Gallery is still live. And if you haven't gone there, I would recommend you do. It's absolutely amazing. They have this beautiful piano music playing in the background. It feels like you're walking through an art gallery, and you kind of are looking at all the different visualizations produced by the community. Also, this is more fun than sort of informative or learning, but after going to conference in 2016, there were certain songs that I could not listen to and not think of Tableau Conference. And it's been kind of a cool thing for me to listen to this playlist and have those songs take me back to Tableau conferences from years past. So there is a playlist that the community has put together. It's out on Spotify. You can give it a spin while you're working or working out or whatever. And it's got some good music. So check that out as well. Okay, learning. Tableau has made their certification exams 20% off, sort of extending the conference discount through December 7th. So if you want to take advantage of that, you can get a discounted price and sort of level up your skill set, your credentials, and have those things in your toolbox. They also rolled out a data literacy for all free training. So trying to raise the data literacy bar in general, making it free for anybody, something that I have not checked out, but I'm sure is really useful and informative. And as we always try and mention, if you haven't dipped your feet yet into the Tableau community, there's lots of different projects for you to take part in. Makeout Monday, Workout Wednesday, Iron Quest, Project HealthViz, and many more. Great ways to learn, get inspiration, meet other people, and have fun in the process. So highly encourage you to check that out. One more thing, anybody looking to grow their presentation skills or again, do networking, there will be an opportunity for that in December. The Tableau Fringe Festival will again be happening December 10th through 11th. If you have any presentation content that may be sort of percolating within your soul and you think you may want to take a dive at presenting that, encourage you to do that. You can click the link. There you can find out information on how to register as a presenter, or reach out to Emily Kund. And I don't remember who else is involved in helping put that on, but I think, again, somebody can probably put those names in the chat for anybody that's interested. Okay, and last but not least, I'm really excited about this because IronViz is now, of course, near and dear to my heart. There is an IronViz Student Edition that Tableau is putting on this year. It's an opportunity for students to get involved in competing in data visualization contests. It'll be strictly for students. And I posted this on LinkedIn a week or so ago. The goal is to keep IronViz in AZ, both the global contest and the student contest. That means that somebody from this group or Phoenix or Flagstaff probably should win the competition next year. And we want to do our best to raise up future data visualization contestants at the student level to prepare them to compete in this contest and maybe future ones. So we're talking about putting on sort of a training, review, feedback webinar late November, early December to provide students at the U of A, at ASU, and beyond, just with some feedback on data visualization. It's an awesome opportunity for us as professionals to give back to students who are sort of following behind us in our own career paths. So stay tuned on that. Certainly more information to come. All right, so that's it for me. I'm done talking. I'm going to turn it over to Nathalia and let her introduce our speakers for today.
Thank you, Christian. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see 37 participants today. It's very exciting. Today, I want to introduce you to two of my colleagues at the University of Arizona. I'm gonna share their bio. Lauren, she's a senior data analyst for the University Analytics and Institutional Research Department. Lauren is known for her unique combination of expertise, design and data analytics. She holds a bachelor's degree in studio art and a graduate certificate in business intelligence and analytics, both from the University of Arizona. In her role, Lauren is responsible for the institution's interactive factbook, a public website built using Tableau that serves as historical document and provides comprehensive snapshot of the institutional core reporting areas, including student, employee, finance, and research. And then we have Ashley. Ashley currently leads the customer experience and support team for the University Analytics and Institutional Research, which focuses on helping equip campus colleagues with the knowledge and know-how to take full advantage of the department's work. In this current role, Ashley is working to develop innovative approaches to support strategic decision-making, data literacy, training, and communication. Ashley has 15 years of experience working in higher education, having served the University of Arizona since 2004 in various capacities, from business administration and sponsored projects accounting to developing student support initiatives in student affairs. Ashley received most of her education at the University of Arizona, where she's currently finishing up her master's in management information systems and a graduate certificate in business intelligence and analytics. Okay, now I'm gonna pass it on to Lauren and Ashley. Please take it away.
Hello, so happy to be here. My name is Ashley Hurand, and thank you, Nathalia, for the introduction. Joined by my colleague, Lauren Isely. Both of us, I think, at this point have been using Tableau for about 3 to 4 years. I've since moved into a management role, so I'm less involved in the day-to-day of using the tool, but we both love Tableau and we're really excited to be here with all of you today. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into our presentation. And we are here to talk to you about the University of Arizona's interactive factbook. So the agenda that we put together today, we're going to talk a little bit about the department that we work for, a little bit of background about interactive factbook and how that tool came to be. We're then going to talk about the framework of interactive factbook, including how the data flow is set up. We're going to do a demo of the tool, talk about universal design as being one of the guiding principles for developing this work, and then open up some time for questions. The image on the right is just the screenshot of the homepage for UAIR.arizona.edu, which is home to the tool that we're going to be talking about today. So before we get into the tool and how we use Tableau within our work, I wanted to give you a little bit of background information about the department that we work for. So for those of you, I know that there's a lot of U of A folks here on the call today, but for those of you who aren't familiar with the U of A, we've got about 13,000 employees. It's a huge, huge organization to work for. We are a department called University Analytics and Institutional Research that supports institutional reporting needs for the university. So one of the things that we're responsible for is maintaining the university's enterprise data warehouse. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. We're also responsible for a system that we refer to internally as UAccess Analytics. This is the self-service business intelligence tool for U of A employees that is powered by Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition. We also are responsible for Interactive Factbook, which is our publicly facing reporting tool, which is powered by Tableau. So these are the three primary things that we wanted to talk to you all about today. But in addition, we are responsible for external reporting, systems administration, systems performance, data engineering, data science, to name a few. And just to give you a sense of sort of the scale of the data warehouse and UAccess Analytics, within UAccess Analytics, we've got about 5,000 active users each fiscal year. Last year, we had about 8.8 million reports run, and that comes to about 30,000 queries a day. So it is a pretty robust reporting tool. That is sort of the primary thing that we maintain, but Interactive Factbook is what we're here to chat with all of you about today. So Interactive Factbook, well, to give you some background about what a factbook is. So Factbook sort of serves as an institutional annual snapshot of institutional data And it's a very important resource for the higher ed world. So it allows for peer comparison, it allows for trending analysis, and it also just sort of gives internal, folks internal to the institution a sense of where we are from year to year. So this has been something that's been in existence for many, many years. I think prior to about 2008, all of the fact books were actually printed documents. So within our office, we've got a whole bookshelf of just these old fact books stacked up side by side. Several years ago, we moved to a website version of Factbook, and that Factbook has since been sunsetted. But these are a couple screenshots that we got from the Wayback Machine, and basically, we had a lot of different important metrics that were available there for the institution, but it was all static. Everything existed as a static table and a static graph. There was absolutely no interactivity. And one thing that's really near and dear to Lauren and I is helping to ensure that there's data literacy around the information that's being presented. Lauren and I are really try to prioritize user-centered design as much as possible and accessibility. So one of the things that, aside from just interactivity lacking from this tool, we also felt that there was not enough information for people to always 100% understand what it was that they were looking at. So with that, about 3 years ago, we started to think about how we could utilize Tableau, leverage the user-friendly nature of Tableau to enhance all of Factbook and make it truly interactive. And so that was sort of the basis for this project moving forward.
All right, thank you, Ashley. So I'm going to talk to you about the framework and the data flow of the interactive Factbook. From the highest level, we have structured the interactive Factbook in a way that breaks down the data into 4 core subject areas, that being student, workforce, financial, and research. Over the 4 core subject areas, we have 18 Tableau workbooks, 31 Tableau dashboards, and, well, too many to count, Tableau worksheets. As Ashley mentioned, this is all possible because UAIR manages the enterprise data warehouse for the institution. UAIR also happens to manage the Tableau server for all 3 Arizona Board of Regents institutions. So that would be ASU, NAU, and of course, U of A. To give you a better idea of how this worked, I've designed a highly complex data flow that takes us from the transaction systems all the way to the UAIR website. So it starts with our front-end users, our students, our faculty, our staff. What they're doing is they're entering data into the transaction system. Okay, up here. And then that data flows to the enterprise data warehouse every night. Then, when I'm in Tableau desktop, I'm able to connect to the data warehouse by using the Oracle server data type connection with a written SQL query. And once we're ready to deploy, we push that workbook to the Tableau server, and we take the embed code from the Tableau server and we place that on the UAIR website. And I don't do this alone, nor could I. I couldn't think of a cheesier way to say this, but this project takes a village. We really only can do this in collaboration with all the stakeholders across campus, and we need every single team within UAIR to make this happen. So shout out to all you people from U of A on the call and listening. And thank you everybody at UAIR for helping this make this happen. All right, demo time. So I'm going to take you over to the UAIR website. So bear with me as I navigate here. Okay, please give me some sort of reaction, like a thumbs up that you can see this. Okay, I see Ashley's physical thumbs up. Okay, so UAIR.arizona.edu is where we're at. And this is our homepage. On the homepage, we have some data highlights here that take us directly to workbooks. But I'm going to start up at the top at Interactive Factbook and the Overview page. So those 4 different data subjects are all available here, where we have our student, our faculty and staff, finance and research. And then we have a little screenshot and description of each of those workbooks on this page. If you were to click faculty and staff, you would just get those, a little summary of those. I'm going to take us to the enrollment workbook. And this workbook is our most visited workbook of all of the content on our website. Last month, we had about 1,200 unique visitors and 1,600 page views. So let me orient you with what you're looking at. This is fall enrollment data. We call it census because that's the point in time in which this data is represented. That census date is the 21st day of the semester. So this first dashboard page are the highlights. And over here on the left-hand side, we have an overall highlight of the total enrollment. Enrollment by campus location. We have highlights on our new undergraduate students. So the incoming first-year undergraduate cohort, how are their average scores? What are their top academic plans? And our new undergraduate transfer cohort, what are their top academic plans? And where are they coming from? Which Arizona transfer institutions? Then in this right-hand side, we have our enrollment demographics. So what does the population look for all of the total students that are enrolled by different demographic measures? And we take that same concept and break it down by academic careers. So undergrad, grad, incoming first year, and transfer or new students. And then below each workbook, like Ashley mentioned, we are pushing for data literacy. So we try to incorporate as much as we can within the workbook. So when someone downloads the PDF or dashboard, that comes with it. I also wanted to mention that all of our workbooks only have a few options for the data for the download. And I'll mention that again later, but I just wanted to point that out, is we do that to protect people's identity, even though that there's no PII in the back end. I don't know if that's too in the weeds, so I'll stop talking about it. So here we have our highlights, and then we have our trends. This is going to be fall enrollment for 10 years. And it's going to load so fast because we're in a demo. Should I refresh? See, it is fast. It's just playing with me. Okay, so fall enrollment trends. Here we have some filters where they can filter by different measures. And then we have our total enrollment by academic career, and then our new undergraduate enrollment. And same idea here, where we have our definitions. And so I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, but this is a publicly available tool. Please take a look. Maybe I can ask Ashley to throw the link in the chat. Okay, so here I showed you the fall enrollment. I have a few other screenshots that I'll share, and then we'll switch subjects. Not totally, just a little. This is our faculty tenure. Same idea where we have highlights on the left, and then we have our trends. It's 2 dashboard pages. We have our admissions pipeline showing how many people applied, admitted, and our yield rate for our first year undergraduates, transfers, and graduates by residency. Workforce demographics, highlights, and trends. And now I'm going to pivot to talk about the universal design. We have begun to approach our work through the lens of universal design. Universal design can be defined as the design of products and environments to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation. The University of Arizona has made a commitment to universal design. This commitment applies to the way that we design our office space, classrooms, to how course instruction is provided. And for us at UAIR, we also see this as a priority for how we deliver information and data to users internally, and the data we make available publicly on the website on the interactive factbook. There are 7 principles to universal design. And some of these may be more applicable to one project, such as designing a classroom, or maybe one's more applicable to interactive factbook, which we're going to talk about. I'm going to go through all of these and just give you some ideas of the type of questions we might be asking ourselves. And then we'll dive into how we've applied it. Okay, so equitable in use. Can we say that the design is useful to people with diverse abilities? Flexibility in use. Does the design accommodate a wide range of individual preferences and abilities? Simple and intuitive in use. Is the design easy to understand, regardless of the user's experience or knowledge in the industry? So that data literacy aspect. Perceptible information. Does the design communicate the necessary information effectively, regardless of the user's sensory abilities? Tolerance for error. Has the design been built to minimize hazards and the adverse consequences of accidental or unintended actions? Low physical effort. Can the design be used efficiently? And lastly, is the design size and space for the approach and use appropriate? I believe that having access to data is a privilege, and that it is our responsibility to build tools that are inclusive to all users. I now would love to show you how we've applied some of these concepts at UAIR into the interactive factbook. We built the design system with accessibility in mind. So what is a design system? A design system is it's similar to a style guide or brand standards, but I think of it as something much more robust. It consists of a variety of components that are predefined, and it essentially will streamline the design process for developers. So there are many components to make up a complete design system. And today I'm just going to focus on a couple things that I think are very relevant to this conversation. So we have my mouse is like, you can see it. Okay. Our colors align with our brand identity, and we have best practices on how to use those colors in data visualization. For example, color should not be used as the only visual means of conveying information. We've developed a font hierarchy specifically for our interactive factbook using Tableau fonts. So take a screenshot, the freebie. Having clear distinctions between the dashboard titles and the graph or table title, that helps users find the information they are seeking and helps them recognize the relationships between different parts of the content more easily. And so we've applied these different font hierarchies on all of our dashboards. Maybe a few we're still working on. Another way we apply universal design is we provide multiple means of representing information because as being part of compliant with web accessibility, all non-text content must have a text alternative that serves the equivalent purpose. So earlier I mentioned that we don't provide a data download. And so on our dashboards, we have to come up with a solution right here. So if we visualize something as a bar graph or bar chart, we might have that same information in a table or in a KPI highlight. And for example, on this workforce demographics dashboard that we have on our website right now, if someone were to come and ask, how many employees work part-time? There's 3 different ways that they could get that information. They could see it right at the top with this KPI highlight. They could see it in this bar chart with a label. And they also have it here in a table. And the last theme that we applied to the interactive factbook is enhancing the keyboard navigation experience. So if someone were to come to the interactive factbook navigating with only their keyboard, would they be able to access every element within the dashboard? And if they can, do they access that in a logical order? We found that using Tableau stories, and can I get some interaction that you know what Tableau stories are? Like, give me some thumbs up in here. I see nothing. Okay.
Love Tableau stories.
Okay, well, I have some news. So we found that Tableau stories was not accessible to people who use screen readers navigating with their keyboard. And I'm going like this because that's how I tab. And so they could see the information here, but they couldn't navigate to the following story pages. I don't know if that's still true today, but it was about a year ago when we tested this. So what we did is we took a look at the dashboards and we decided, can this be updated to less story pages or less dashboards? And in some cases that was an opportunity. So here you see, instead of having these all as story pages, we simply just added a filter and they can get that same content here. In other situations, that wasn't possible. We needed multiple dashboards still. And in those scenarios, we created 2 dashboards and linked them using the button feature that is accessible within Tableau. So now that someone can navigate every element on the dashboard, are they able to navigate that in a way that makes sense, in a logical order? So focus order is the sequence in which a user accesses elements on a website while using keyboard navigation or a screen reader. And according to the Web Content Accessibility Guide, if a web page can be navigated sequentially and the navigation sequence affects meaning or operation, focusable components receive focus in an order that preserves meaning and operability. That's a lot of words. Took me like 5 times to read that to understand what it meant. So basically, are people able to use their keyboard and navigate in a logical sense? So let me help articulate this. And this, okay, I know, I know it's a lot. So bear with me. Okay, so if someone goes onto our webpage today, this is how they will experience it. I hope what's similar to this, very close. Don't test me, okay? So this, they'll start at the highlights. Can you see my mouse? Okay, so they'll start at highlights, then tab, they go down to this graph, tab to the bottom right, tab, 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 tab. Now, that is not a logical sequence to me. So we're working on this. We've reached out to Tableau to find a solution. We have an open ticket. Hint, hint, Tableau, help us. And so this is in progress. So we've built a design system with accessibility in mind. We're providing multiple means of representing information on the workbooks. And we're working on enhancing the keyboard navigation experience. Having access to data is a privilege, and it's our responsibility to build tools that are inclusive to all users.
Also, just to add to that real quickly, we see Interactive Factbook as continuing to be a tool that evolves to serve the needs of campus and to serve the areas of interest within the higher ed world. So we continue to work with stakeholders to adjust and add to the metrics that we're presenting. And we'll continue to look at the tool through a universal design lens, hoping that we can, continue to make this as simple and accessible as possible. And up to this point, we've received a lot of positive feedback, both from our campus colleagues and then colleagues in similar, colleagues that do similar work across the country at other institutions. So at this point, we feel like it's a success, but it will continue to grow and change over time.
So thank you. Thank you for attending my TED Talk.
Thank you both. Nicole, I'll turn it over to you at this point, and yeah, I'll just turn it over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take questions now. So if you do have questions, please put them in the chat. Right now, I don't actually see any, except for Sarah did ask if we'll be sharing the slides after the session. In the past, I know that we haven't, we've just done recordings. I don't know if we have plans to make the slides available.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you connect the transactions to the warehouse, to Tableau, what, I guess this is multiple questions. How big is the data? How many rows do you get every day? How do you clean it? Do you clean it all in Tableau? And how do you make sure performance is good?
That's a lot of questions. So we have, and actually I'll ask you to supplement this answer. We have a data engineering team that is responsible for managing the data warehouse and that nightly sync. How many rows? It's a lot, and I don't know the answer to that. So when I'm in the Tableau desktop, I write a SQL query that limits the data. So it will limit it to, it's not including any personal identifiable information. We're aggregating at the different attributes, and that does improve the performance. We don't do a live sync in Tableau either. It is an extract because we're updating this on an annual basis at different points in time for the different metrics. And then Ashley, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so in terms of cleaning, that's one of the pieces that is taken care of when we're pulling data into the enterprise data warehouse. So data is pulled in through a process that's called ETL, or extract, transform, load. And through that process, we do any sort of cleaning to ensure data quality prior to pulling it into any of the queries that we run for updating the SQL workbooks. And as far as rows, I mean, it like for the purposes of the workbooks, like Lauren said, we are limiting it, but we're pulling from source tables that have millions of records.
Thank you. That's great.
Did that answer all of your questions, Nathalia?
All of them. I'm so impressed. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So next we have a question from Christian. What source resources did you use to develop your universal design principles?
So the universal design principles are on the DRC, the Disability Resource Center website, and that is where those are sourced from.
I think you had a link, Lauren, on one of your,
oh,
you have the URL.
Let me go over there and see what I
thought that you did. Yeah, so we're really fortunate to have a disability oh, I guess it doesn't have the URL, but this is the name of the group of colleagues that we worked with. We're really fortunate to work with a disability resource center here on campus that have professionals that consult specifically on universal design. So we were able to work with them, to have them review Interactive Factbook probably about 1.5 years ago to give us some initial insights. We also had a graduate assistant that worked with us over the past year, the primary emphasis of his work was to do an accessibility audit on Interactive Factbook and provide us with some additional insights to help us figure out how to move forward.
Thank you. Next question from Leo. Do you schedule your data extracts or is this done manually?
We do not schedule them. So when I deploy, I do an extract. Once the data is snapped, I will go in and will refresh the workbook. Over a year, a lot of things might change. We might want to rewrite the SQL query, or maybe there's a new field within the transaction system that has changed and we need to make some adjustments. So we do a manual extract.
And for this particular tool, it's sort of a unique use case because it's really looking at years at a time. So there's really one big refresh cycle every year. If we have colleagues that are looking at that tool and are interested in data that's more current or more recent, most of those individuals do have the ability to go into our internal facing tool where they can get information at a different grain or different point in time.
We still have a little bit more time for questions if we have any more. Because you do have the ability, obviously, to unmute and show your camera, you're welcome to do that as well if you didn't want to put it in the chat. All right, it looks like that might be it then. So Christian, I believe you're up next on the agenda, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us. Round of applause, Lauren, Ashley, thank you. We've been trying to do this for a long time. Glad we finally got to make it happen.
Thank you. Happy to be here. And please feel free to reach out to us, any of you that have questions after today. We'd be happy to chat. So thank you.
Cool. Well, I'm not going to take control for very too long. I'll just go ahead and turn it over to Nathalia because we're going to do a bit of a data or a TC-ish retrospective from Tucson. So Nathalia is going to give us just some thoughts on some of the new features that were announced and some other things. So Nathalia, over to you.
Thank you, Christian. So yes, today, let me share my screen. I want to give you a recap of the 2020 Tableau Conference, or conference-ish. I was labeled this year because it was all virtual. If you didn't have a chance to attend the conference, it happened about 2 weeks ago. And the older recordings, like Christian mentioned are available right now, but they only will be available until November 15th. So make sure you check those out before then. If you didn't register, all you have to do is register and then just go to this link or just type Tableau Conference. And then from there, you just click on watch and then you'll have access to all of the videos. So I actually want to take you there. Because you not only will have access to the recordings from the North American conference, but you're also going to have access to conferences from Asia and Europe. So there's actually a lot of information. There's so much that I haven't been able to scroll all the way down because there's just so many videos. So what you can do is go to episode guide, and then you can filter by categories, whatever interests you. Or what I've been doing is I'm using the search option. So right now I am interested in seeing how Python works with Tableau. So what I will do is I'll just use that keyword, and from there it will give me the options of all of the presentations where Python is mentioned. So that's a good way for you to search if you have any specific interest, and you can add it to the watch list to keep it organized. So that's how you can get access to the videos. Now I want to show you our takeaways from the conference. So the part that I enjoy the most about the conference is what is coming next year. Now, this information is coming from the presentation called Devs on Desk. And what that is developers from Tableau got a chance to showcase what is coming, what they have been working on, and what is going to be available next year. So there's two really interesting features that I'm very excited about. Number one is map layers. So what is map layers? So right now, if you have a map, you can use color or marks to show information, right? So here on the left, this is a map of how you could do that. But what you can do now with layers is just add extra layers to the same map. So here, there will be this window here, and right now the map is showing zip codes in Seattle. But what the developer is doing right now is adding rental properties to a new layer, and now what it's going to look like is this circle right here is showing rental properties on top of the zip codes. And then he did it again. He wanted to see coffee shops around Seattle. So then again, he dragged the field for coffee shops, and now he has 3 layers in this map, which looks fantastic and is just gonna add a lot of possibilities to building maps. All right, and the other one, and I'm gonna say this is my favorite, is called Easy LODs. So if you're not too familiar with LODs, they stand for level of detail expression. And so what it does is, if you want to compare a field that is at the row level to an aggregate, to another field that is at an aggregate level, you have to use an LOD expression. Now, LODs are in my opinion, a very advanced and difficult concept to navigate. I am not a big fan of them. Every time I need to work, I know I need to use one of them. It's a stressful time. And that's why, one of the reasons why I love table calculations, because Tableau already calculates, predefines some calculations, makes it easy for you. So now what Tableau is gonna do is apply that concept of table calculations into LODs. So going back to the example that they provided, the developer wanted to compare rental properties, individual rental properties, so at the row level, to the average cost in a specific zip code. So that's an aggregate level. So what he did is he selected the field for zip code, and then he selected the field for prices, right click, and here there's an option, LOD calculation. Once you click that option, Tableau is gonna create that LOD for you. So it's not, obviously it's not gonna be perfect because it doesn't necessarily know what you want, but it's gonna get you started. So from here, it's taking zip code and is comparing it to the sum of the monthly rent. So at the end, at this point, in my opinion, Tableau has done the heavy work. So now all you have to do is adjust the formula just a little bit, change the sum for an average, and then just get your monthly rent compared to that calculation. So this is what is coming next year for on Tableau, and this is, I think, a game changer for sure. Other mentions that are worth sharing with you: Ask Data is going to be upgraded to Ask Data 2.0, and Ask Data is just allowing the end user to use natural language to get insights on their dashboard. So it's getting a lot more sophisticated, and is looking that it's going to be a really interesting tool. The other feature that is coming, if you use Tableau Prep, now you're going to have the option to use spatial calculations. And then finally, talking about schedule refresh on extracts, now we will have the option to schedule it ourselves however we want to do it. I didn't know this, but apparently that was not an option right now, but it will be an option next year. And with that, I think that's all I have for you. I don't know if we have any questions.
No questions in the chat so far.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Christian.
Christian, our IronViz champion, congratulations.
Thank you.
So excited to see this.
That's cool. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not going to go into the entire visualization today, but I wanted to highlight the map because, golly, there's just a bunch of people that reached out afterwards that had questions about that. And I wanted to just give a brief overview on why I put the map together like I did and how it was put together. But first, I wanted to give an overview of what IronViz is in case anybody's on the call and doesn't know. So IronViz is the world's largest data visualization competition. It is one of the highlights every year at the Tableau Conference. Just amazing to see what people can put together in 20 minutes time. And so this is the visualization that I put together a couple weeks back, and it's called The Air We Breathe. And it's just meant to highlight the global divide and inequalities in air pollution and breathing air. And again, today I wanted to focus on the map portion of it. There's another section that contains a scatter plot and some of the statistics that drive the animations, but today, really just the map portion. So the IronViz timeline, unlike other years, this year was really condensed. I think we had probably about half as much time as prior years because things were pushed forward and we needed to have it pre-recorded prior to going live. So that was a bit different. I don't blame Tableau for doing it like that. They were going to be broadcasting this thing to thousands and thousands of people around the globe. So everything had to be pre-recorded by the 21st of September. We got the data on September 5th. So that left 16 days basically to get the data, to analyze it, to put together a visualization, to practice it, and then to have it ready to do in 20 minutes on September 21st. On top of that, I had a family vacation planned for September 11th through 14th. And let me see. go to the chat here. I saw something come up. Make sure we're okay. Is my audio okay? Somebody give me a thumbs up that you can hear me clearly.
It's good.
Or just good? Okay. So yeah, anyway, the timeline was tight. There was thanks, Lauren. There was a vacation we had planned that I couldn't get out of. Kids really don't let you do that very easily. So it was off the grid, no Wi-Fi. So it was really challenging, stressful. And on top of that, you have work things that absolutely have to be done that you just can't push off to the side. So the data, we got the data on the 5th. We used 2 data sets, all 3 contestants did. One was a global data set of CO2 emissions and ancillary data for 343 cities. And the other one was from the WHO. It was global ambient air quality. And this featured basically air pollution in the categories of PM2.5 and PM10 particles. And there's always, I'll say this, there's always a bit of a, and I felt this, there's a bit of a balancing act that you're trying to do in IronViz. On the one hand, you're trying to produce something that's amazing and novel and just innovative. But on the other hand, you're trying to produce something that's simple and people can understand and is clear in 20 minutes. So I spent probably the good first week trying to find a story, cleaning data. And what I ultimately came back to was this story that was the very first paragraph in the references of the data set. It basically says 97% of cities in low and middle income countries do not meet the air quality standards, while in higher income countries, many of them do. And so that was kind of the direction I took the entire effort. And so what I wanted to do was one, leverage the universal language of geography. Most people can look at a map and understand where things fall geographically. And because that was a major factor in this story, I knew I wanted to use a map. Secondly, I wanted it to be clear. I wanted to clearly show the distinction between good, bad, and moderate air pollution. And so I did that with the 3 different color categories that you saw in the viz. And thirdly, I wanted to, there's this Gestalt principle called continuity. So I saw this technique in the past where you had curved lines on a map, and I wanted to connect the disaggregated data to the aggregated data to really tell the story and to make sure there was some continuity in the visualization. And so I had seen this technique before. I didn't create it. At the Tableau Conference last year, there was a visualization up here by Alexander Varlamov, where he used this technique where he had these dots on a map and they were connected, in this case, to a Sankey chart. And it was just incredible. I remember going back from the conference and trying to download the workbook and reverse engineer it. I didn't get very far. I got pulled off on other things, but I still had this just sense of kind of amazement and sense that this concept was really cool and I wanted to use it at some point. Since then, there's been other visualizations in the community that used it quite well. This one's from Pat Sarsfield and this one's from Wendy Shiha. And more importantly, there was a blog that Wendy and Ken Fleurlage produced on how to do this technique. And that was just a couple months ago. But what I wanted to do was use that technique and apply it to my use case. And so in this case, you see one of the interactions of the viz. And really all throughout this pandemic, data visualization has really transformed how we understand a lot of things that are going on in terms of the spread of the virus, economic conditions, and so forth. And I remember just seeing graphs that really had a visual effect of popping off of a chart. And I wanted to replicate that in my visual, such that when you toggle from city to population, this bar chart, because there are so many more people living with unhealthy air, almost pops off the chart. And the circles go from being relatively small to where there's large populations, pretty big. And so I wanted to achieve that effect with the map. Okay, so how practically does this actually work? Well, two things to start. I would encourage you to visit these links if you haven't visited them already. These are on the Fleur-Lage Twins website. This is the blog I referenced earlier on drawing curves on a map. It tells you specifically how to use sigmoid curves with latitude and longitude coordinates on a map. And secondly, this is more contextual information on data densification, which was necessary to achieve the effect. Now, basically what you're doing is on the Tableau Conference canvas, you have this Cartesian coordinate system where you can plot points and connect them with a sigmoid curve if you have densified the data. And so it's very similar from a mapping perspective. You're just using, instead of XY coordinates, you're using latitude and longitude coordinates. And so that's really one of the only major changes between regular sigmoid curves and sigmoid curves on a map. All right, so we're not done yet. I wanted to actually go into my dashboard and just take a little bit of a slower walk through than maybe you saw a couple of weeks ago on how to build that map, and hopefully that answers some of the question that I've received over the last couple of weeks. So let me share my Tableau dashboard. Somebody give me a thumbs up again that we can now see my Tableau dashboard. Thanks, Nathalia and Lauren. Okay, so what you're not going to see here is the calculations. I've already brought them in, but really they're driven by a few calculations. One is the sigmoid calculation, which is going to create the curves on the line, and you can tell it's using geographic coordinates and this start Y calculation, which basically just tells the line where to start on the map. So we have it starting at 90. I want my lines to be starting at the top of the map. So we're using 90 latitude as opposed to negative 90. And then they're going to go down to the corresponding latitude of the geographic places using the sigmoid curves. The start X basically provides a longitude across the x-axis of where these things are going to show up at the top of the map. So I'm doing it by this category predicted. If you remember, I have good, moderate, and poor air quality. So depending on what category a city falls in is going to depend on what number gets assigned here. So then all I do is you have this curve X, you have this curve Y calculation. You first need to change the geographic roles geographic roles to cities, which I've already done. And then you just drag them to the map. And then we want to make sure we're including the country city detail. And these are going to get changed from an average to a dimension. And so now you start to see at least some semblance of the end visualization, but it's not quite there. We need to first change the circles to lines and then add the category. And that's pretty much there at this point. And so the sigmoid curves are starting at where I've told it to start using the calculation I showed earlier. And the sigmoid curves are taking them down ultimately to the latitude and longitude of the end location. Now, there's another thing I did, which I used really a dual axis map. And so I'm going to show how I did that here. Basically, it's leveraging an end Boolean calculation, which I'm using this point and this number point. One of these is the densified point that I got from densifying the data, and I'll bring up my, can you see my Tableau prep flow? I know I'm jumping around, but do I need to share my screen again? Or are you guys still
No.
looking at the workbook?
No flow,
Okay.
just a calculation.
Okay, let me stop and let me bring up my prep flow. And then I'll jump back to the workbook. Okay, can you see Tableau prep?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so here's the join. I meant the data was dirty. I'm doing a lot of data cleansing here, but really this is just an Excel sheet that I'm joining. I'm doing a Cartesian join to densify the data. So I'm making a several hundred record data set go to thousands and thousands of records, but this is what I'm using to create the lines. And so we have this point number that's going to give me numbers 1 through 100 that I'm going to use to create that end field back in the Tableau workbook. So where the point equals 100, I want to get that field, and where it doesn't, I don't want anything. And so to achieve that, I'm just dragging it onto columns. And you can see where it's true, I'm getting just the points that represent the cities, and where it's false, I'm getting basically everything else. So what I want to do is hide this. I don't want to exclude, I don't want to filter it, I just want to hide it. And now we're kind of like, uh-oh, I didn't want to lose the line. I still wanted to keep them. But I wanted to have both the lines and the points. So what you have to end up doing is dragging this end Boolean field to the detail on the second curve. And then you have a map that has both the points and the lines, and you can create your dual axis map. Yeah. And from there, there are background maps. I used a Mapbox layer, which I just called basic, but I used Mapbox Studio just to create this custom dark map that I thought looked pretty nice with the other color choices I was using. So there was, of course, some more formatting, but that's a high level concept, how I created the map. So hopefully that was a little bit slower than what everybody saw a couple of weeks ago. And I do have a hard stop here at 11:30, but definitely take any questions if there are any.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions in the chat. So the first was, how many tables did you have to culminate to build your data set?
How many tables? Yeah, so it was the two data sources that I mentioned that were joined together. And the only other data source that I used was just a 2-column data source that had basically the word join in one column and numbers 1 through 100, a 100 record data set that I used to densify the data to create these lines. And that was it.
Okay, and then a question from Tara, why joins instead of relationships?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. Maybe somebody who's more familiar with prep can speak to this. Can you do relationships in prep? I did all of this beforehand in prep, so I didn't have to join anything in Tableau. So I just used the join feature, which was what I knew prep was capable of and had used. So yep, no relationships in prep. That was my assumption as well. Thank you, Velvet.
And then Manoj is, I'm not sure if this is a question or more an observation, but wondering why none of the participants used animation feature when the filter changes.
Yeah, I think Simon did, actually. I caught that, and I think he had a really good use case for it when he was, I think he had a timeline button, click through filter in his dashboard that when you clicked one of the filters, there were some animations applied to the stacked or the bar chart, the descending area bar chart that he had in his viz. If I recall, he did use it. Yeah, and Michael's saying good animation is key for winning IronViz. I do think there's something to that. And I think it's a great way to really show the power of data visualization by animating it, by bringing it to life. So I agree with that observation, Michael.
Another question from Phil. Can you go over loading multiple calculations?
Yeah. Can you see the build notes on the notepad that I have up on where I'm sharing? No? Let me see if I can share that. There's got to be a way to show all windows. Screen. All right, let's try this. Now can you see the build notes?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I think this is what you're getting at, right, Phil? So I have these calcs, and you're asking, is what you're asking how to migrate these to calculated fields in Tableau?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So let me go here. Let's just do it. So I'm just copying from the notepad the ones that I'm going to want to use, and I'm bringing them into a calculated field editor. And in the notepad, I'm just using the standard commenting out functionality in Tableau calculations, which is these double backslashes. And so what that's going to do is it's going to create a title of the calculated field. And unfortunately, you can't do it in bulk, which would be super proficient, but still one by one is pretty cool. And so you're just highlighting it in the calculated field editor and you're just bringing it over. I'm not sure how much real world or business application you would have for this, because how often do you really know your calculations beforehand? But it's still pretty cool if you're in a time crunch.
Yeah, that is very cool. Any other questions for Christian?
There will be, I believe, some additional walkthroughs of the entire visualization coming up, either later this month or early November, done via Tableau. So I'll make sure, if you do want to see more of the entire viz build, like the scatter plot and tying the scatter plot to the map and the bar chart together and how that was done, I'll make sure the user group's aware of that and you guys can tune into it if you want.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions in the chat at this point. Looks like we'll be able to wrap up just in time for everyone's 11:30 meetings.
Yes. Cool. Yeah, anything else, Nicole, Nathalia?
No, you did a great job. And again, congratulations. This is such a huge honor. And I'm so glad that we have you on our team here in Tucson. We're very, very lucky.
Hey, thanks. And somebody else from this group has got to take the trophy next year, because it's staying in Arizona, right? Can I get an amen?
Exactly, yes.
All right, well, cool. That was fun. Thank you again, Ashley and Lindsay, presenters. Lauren, sorry.
They have to step away, but
okay.
I'll share. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks all. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.